This week it's been Champions League week, and for a lot of people, the headlines have been that Vinicius Junior, Rodrigo, they all went zero dribbles against Julian Timber and what do you call it? This young kid at Arsenal, Waneri. And for Erasmus, who also predicted that one touch, Madrid will kill Arteta. He's sitting here. We are we are all here. In fact, I've gone the step of wearing my Madrid jersey for this very episode. But also we'll talk about Luis Enrique and how brilliant they were against Aston Villa as well. And basically, I think those are probably the two most exciting matches that have gone on. The rest of them have been like a little bit boring. But let's start with the obvious. Why do you think Madrid lost in England when they visited Arsenal?
Yeah, that's a very very
A
hard
huge question.
answer. I
Yeah,
don't think Ancelotti himself knows, even as of now. Like even if you
yeah,
do ask Arsenal fans, I quite remember that um we were talking about the match beforehand, and they didn't
yeah,
seem to have a lot of confidence moving into the game. So this is a very very surprising result. I think it's going to take some time for us to understand what
yeah,
really happened that night. But I think what is fairly obvious is that um, Arsenal came ready. They came prepared to fight. They had no fear in their eyes, and they took the game to the
yeah,
Real Madrid. And it doesn't look like Real Madrid was prepared for that kind of Arsenal. It just has that feeling of they expected it to be quite easy, which is very very surprising, especially for a quarter final. But then
yeah,
also, this Real Madrid team is one which, for some number of weeks now, they have been facing some issues with regards to their performance. So you'd say it's not the most confident team. Some of the players seem to be out of form. I mean, Kylian Mbappe is scoring, but perhaps is the only player in form, maybe
yeah,
beside him and Endrick. So there's been some questions over Ancelotti. So I think that a combination of all of those factors, plus obviously a superb free kick, which no one prepared for, and I think the results then just went from okay, we are not taking this seriously and we've lost by a goal or two to now
yeah.
being almost impossible to recover.
Yeah. I mean, do you think that because if you look at the period, it was like a period of 20 minutes where all the three goals happened. Did you feel that the team crumbled after the first goal? Do you think their reaction that they were expecting? It's like you feel a weight coming on you and they tried pushing up and that push up didn't go fully, so then they just crumbled under that weight that was piling up on them.
Yeah, to be fair, that was because I didn't even see those two goals firsthand, which is like so annoying because like I was texting
Bro,
or something
I
like that.
was I couldn't sleep that day, so I was up very, very late. And
Mm.
I was just watching the match, hoping that I'll sleep, and I didn't sleep till the 90 minutes elapsed. So I got to watch the entire match. And those two free kicks it was like a movie written.
Yeah, like it
No,
was very, very surprising. Like I think there's no one in this world who would say that they were expecting those free kicks to go in, especially like no one was even my feeling was that I didn't think they expected Rice to take the free kick, especially the
yeah,
first time.
that's the
So
first thing, yes.
so they had not prepared for it. But Rice has a very, very good kick. Like his corner kicks
Yeah.
have been crucial to the set piece. So it just tells me that someone was not doing their job. Like someone
You
just
see that
wasn't doing their job.
there's always this thing Ateta tries of keeping a surprise element. And in this game, this was a surprise element. Um, and I also think that the difference between maybe Rice and other free kick takers is the pace and the whip on it.
Yes.
Bro, Courtois just doesn't have the time to move to even make
And
that
that's the
dive
best keeper
because
in the world.
yeah, and see how tall Courtois is. Before you say Jack, the ball is at the back of the net.
Yeah.
There's nothing you
Which
can do
tells me
about
that
it.
it's the expectation. It's to do with the
Yeah,
expectation. And even the second one, I still didn't expect. I still don't think
yeah,
that he expected that he would attempt for the goal from that distance.
yeah.
So yeah, like you can't take that
I mean,
out.
even a lot of people were saying that the second one, because it's more favorable to a left-footed player, Odegaard
Yes,
was more likely to take it.
yes,
No, he still went for the far end. And if you'd notice, because of that, Courtois had come closer to this side, knowing
yes,
very well that he would have time to move across if they were to try the long
yes,
ball over there. But the
yes.
pace and the power on it, he just didn't have the time to do so.
Yeah, I mean, during his interview, uh, Declan said he's still not had the time to process what this moment would mean for him. But
Yeah,
I can compare it to other moments we've seen like that. Like, I think in time we'll start talking about this free kick. I mean, when we start mentioning great free kicks, like everyone will remember this moment.
I
And
mean, I also think the immortalization of it will depend on whether or not they go ahead to win the
no,
tie.
I don't think so. I think yes, if they go through, obviously it makes the story bigger. But I think that
Yeah.
someone will do a reel of top 10 free kicks, and
Oh yeah,
everyone is
those
going to
ones.
remember that moment. Everyone is going to
Yeah,
talk about this Champions League, the fact that it was two free kicks within a
yeah.
short space
Two
of time
freaks,
from both
bro.
ends. I think people are just going to remember. And as a player, these moments don't always come to you where
Yeah,
your name is immortalized in the history of time. Like
yeah,
everyone is going to know that name because of those two free kicks. So a big ups
yeah.
to you. Congratulations.
Is it proving that the 100 million was worth it?
No, it
David
helps.
David Moyes said he's always maintained that Declan was a 150 million pound player.
You,
Until today, he thinks Arsenal owes him 50 million because
Yeah,
they
I
only
heard that
paid 100.
statement. That was so funny.
Yeah,
No, and like as a Chelsea fan, I must say, like I was not the biggest fan of Declan Rice, especially because we were considering either him or Caicedo.
Caicedo. Yeah,
But I now, I now also think about the possibility where we had both of them, and that would have been crazy. So just a little bit of regret going
but
in
would
there.
you trade off? Would you trade off Caicedo for Declan?
No, 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 I won't.
Hey, you would rather keep Declan Rice than you rather keep Moises Caicedo than go for Declan Rice
Yes,
in
yeah,
their current state,
yeah,
in their
yeah.
current
Moise
form.
Caicedo is the most complete midfielder in the Premier League right now.
What sort of controversy? I'm not even going to mind it. This is not about Chelsea, and you're trying to
Yeah,
do
of course.
some
I know.
quotes
I
for
know. I'm just
Moises
stating the
Caicedo.
fact.
No, it's not fact. It's just conjecture. And in this point, I'm not even going to argue about it with you. Later on, we can have that debate. I think Declan Rice is a far better midfielder than Moise Caicedo. If you like, schedule. I don't like Arsenal, but schedule an episode. I will come and defend Declan Rice on this episode. Thank you very much, Moise Caicedo. Eh,
Best.
even Dan Casemiro safe. Next, if you look at the stats in the match, right? Shots, Arsenal had 12, Madrid had 9. Shots on target, Arsenal had 11, Madrid had 3. So if you look at it, Arsenal played 12 shots and had 11 on target.
Mhm.
Madrid played 9 shots and had 3 on target. Obviously, the shot on target volumes alone is likely to result in the higher chances of them scoring goals. You look at the passes, the pass accuracy, and everything. And for me, the most important thing was Arsenal were playing fast. They were very positive in going forward, and they were not focusing on. There were very few times where you realize they were recycling the ball. That's weird, boring thing that all teams do these days. Pep Guardiola, like a pendulum, swinging the ball left, right, center. There were very few instances where Arsenal did that, but a lot of instances they were very aggressive and very intentional about going forward. Watching the game, I was so frustrated with Madrid because there were clear times, especially in the first half, where the game was a little bit balanced. Like Arsenal still was the most threatening side, but Madrid were still in the game. And it was like they just needed to step it up a bit. And even if you'd see that Kylian Mbappe chance, they were creating some dangerous moments here and there that you felt these guys, if they get one and they score, they might pick up the momentum. In the second half, they fell off entirely. But in that first half, Arsenal were a lot more intentional. Madrid, every single time, up until one time in the second half, Rodrigo never got a ball and took a fullback on one. He would always turn around and play that diagonal pass. And it was so frustrating to watch. Vinicius Jr., I'm not sure what he's doing.
Mm.
Mbappe was like he was. out of form in that game because there are some of the chances that he got, especially that first chance in the first half, he could have scored and that would have changed the dynamics of the game. And those are chances that Mbappe running through one on one, you expect him to score and he plays a ball that's out of touch and all that.
Yeah, I mean, like, to be honest, Arsenal made it very difficult for Real Madrid to play, but you cannot say that this performance in some way wasn't Real Madrid just being playing bad. Um,
Yeah, they were just playing bad.
yes,
For me, that's it.
a lot of the players didn't turn up at all. Like,
Yeah.
I- I'm not. You mentioned some names. Like, I can't name not even Modric. Like, usually we say all
Yeah,
this and we're
for,
like,
for me, I even had a problem with him starting Modric in that midfield.
no, but Tchouaméni was suspended.
No, Chouameni is suspended. That's fine, but you have much younger alternates, especially in an Arsenal midfield that are going to run around you a lot. Modric is not the person you're expecting to be because this Arsenal team, like you said, they've prioritized physicality and pace. And so if you want to match them boot for boot, you don't go with you bring Modric in when they've scored you two and the team is jittery and you want somebody to impose some level of calm and composure in the game and dictate some passes. So he's fresh and he's analyzed the game with his experience and he's coming and he knows exactly
But
where to make his
these are
impact
very
felt.
easy things to say in hindsight, Andrews. These
No,
are
no,
very
no,
easy
no.
things to
This
say in
this is not
hindsight.
easy things to say in hindsight because tell me when you look at that starting 11 and you see Modric in the middle of that midfield, you get more confidence.
I'm not contesting that, but like, if I think out of this is the lineup. Like, this, if they could easily have won with this lineup. I think there's a lot of things that went wrong for them. A lot of players that didn't turn up. Obviously, it's not without weakness. Like, if they had substituted him with another player, you can find new weaknesses to point out.
Yeah.
I don't think this was a line. I don't think this was a lineup thing. Of course, can he get it better? Like, for example, Vinicius has been out of form, etc. But this is a Champions League quarter final. Like, these players didn't turn up, and Bellingham himself said it. So I think it's more or less to do with the attitude. So that's why I think it's intriguing to see what happens at the Bernabeu. I saw.
But you see, I agree that for a lot of the players, it's attitude. I don't think it was attitude for Modric, for instance. You could clearly see that the guy was trying. If there were two players that I would think I would praise in that game, Modric, Courtois, because without Courtois, they would have conceded like seven in that game.
No, I'm not.
Modric,
You are not getting my argument. I'm not
yeah,
saying that Modric wasn't a problem, right?
okay.
But I'm saying the
You are
problem.
saying if they turned up, Modric wouldn't have been
No, I'm
the
saying that, like, yeah, that's, you can point to many things. That's a very, very, very small part of the equation. I don't think that's what
I
moved
think that's
the.
where we disagree because me, I don't think that's a small part of the equation. He's the leader of the team. He's the captain on the field. If he himself is having a bad game because he can't locate where he is in that busy midfield with Partey running around him like a
I
swell of wind,
that's fine. We can disagree, but like,
how is he conducting
I don't think
things on
Modric
the pitch?
is the bigger, like, is the bigger character in this Madrid team. But like you said, we can agree to disagree. Let's
But
move.
he's the captain, so obviously he's not the biggest name, right, in this team. But in terms
So you
of
are saying if
the
Modric doesn't turn up, like, Madrid
it's
won't turn up. That's what you are saying.
no, you don't get what I'm
This
saying.
part.
You don't get what I'm
Can you
saying.
put
I'm
it out
saying that no, I'm saying that on a day that the team is down, you can't have the captain in the pit with them
No,
because if
so
he is, there's no way he's dragging them out of it. He himself, he
yeah,
can't find his head.
no, so that's what I'm saying. Like, you know what? Let's move on, because there's just so much that, like, I don't think
Put,
we'll be done talking about it.
but yeah, I think also that there's this still fear around the Madrid squad that this squad that they have is just at this stage of the season sort of depleted, right? And they don't have a lot of first team players to be able to rely on. Like for me, I don't like the fact that Fede Valverde is playing in right back. I don't see the point of it. He later on brought Lucas Vasquez to come and play in that right back. Why didn't he start in right back? Push Valverde into the middle. Then you would have a midfield three of Valverde, Camavinga, and Bellingham. Tell me that's not a much more mobile and active midfield than having, what do you call it, Modric in there, right? That's way better in terms of structure and in terms of trying to compete. But also the three front men, what are they doing in that team? Vinicius, Rodrigo. Let's put Mbappe aside for a while. Vinicius and Rodrigo. This was the worst game I've seen them had. Vinicius gets the ball and he's like Anthony in United. Hey. Oh no. This team was bad. They were too bad for their own reputation and their own good. Someone said Florentino Perez is going to put Lamborghinis and cash, piles of cash in the dressing room to say qualify and this is all yours, and that's all the motivation they need to come back at the Bernabeu to come and win. But then that leads me on to the second leg. Do you expect or do you think that Madrid can come back from this, especially looking at the team, the kind of run of form that they are in, the results that they've had in a while?
I mean, usually you don't write Madrid off, right? Like they've taught us not to write them off. So I can't do that. But I think for the very first time, you got the feeling after the game that this is not the same Madrid team that comes back from these kind of challenges.
Yeah.
Like this is not Barbaro and his cohorts. Yeah, you just get a feeling that this Madrid team, they don't have that character yet. And there are a lot of
Yeah.
players, even I know in quite recent times, they've still been able to show that. But you see in all of those moments, you see those characters on the pitch. But
Do you have a feeling that this team relies on it coming down to the wire to turn up?
that's what traditionally Madrid has been. They
No,
almost
you see,
play very.
it's it's not that you see Madrid has this thing where there's one stage in the season or in the Champions League where they'll pull that thing off and you would be like, yeah, for this game they didn't play poorly, they weren't themselves, they didn't go and attack and all that, but they relied on pulling things and doing it at the very last moment. This team in particular, throughout the season, if you look at the group stages of the Champions League, there was a period where would they qualify, would they qualify, would they qualify? Then
Mm.
they started picking up performances when it was down to the wire, and then they made the playoffs. The playoffs, they would they qualify, would they qualify with Manchester City? Then I think they came to City first, right? Did some shenanigans there. Then they came to to the Bernabeu. Mbappe turns up. All of a sudden, he's the one making Guavadio break his leg left, right, center. Then they've come to the quarterfinal, and you are thinking, is it that they sort of rely on this specific squad because they are not exhibiting everyday world class traits? They need to be put under the pressure cooker for that trait to just burst off. And if that's the case, should Arsenal be a lot more cautious going to the Bernabeu than thinking that we are 3 goals up, and so those 3 goals we should be able to go there and attack, and do whatever we want?
Yeah, Arsenal will be silly not to be aware of that history. Like anyone who plays Real Madrid is aware of that history, and it's not. Um, I think that was the point I was trying to make. It's not about the current players; it's to do with the club. So,
Yeah,
um, it's something that they've been able to pull off multiple times. So I wouldn't put it past them. But the point I was trying to make is that after this particular trashing, it just doesn't feel
yeah.
like you
Isn't
want
that how it's
to
always felt?
thing. Yeah, no. Every time maybe they lose, they've
Are
got
you
one,
sure?
maybe they've
Is it?
got
Is
one
it?
goal, or like it's just a 2 goal lead, that sort of thing. And even
No,
in
but
the
I think you are saying there's a huge distance between 2 and 3. There isn't. Arsenal did it in a space of 20 something minutes. Erasmus. There's
no, but
90 minutes in a
no,
football
I'm not
match.
trying to make it a debate. No, I'm not trying to make it a debate. The point
Okay.
the point I'm making is that I just didn't feel like in those
Okay.
other ones, it's not that no one ever writes Madrid off. You understand? No
Yeah.
one ever write Madrid off. So that factor is always going to be there. But there are some games where you feel like, yeah, maybe they played well, but they were unlucky, or they were sloppy and they didn't turn
Yeah.
up. This in this game, they look particularly clueless. They looked like they
I have an
didn't.
interesting question for you. Do you think that if this Madrid team is able to pull off a comeback at the Bernabeu,
Mm.
score 4 goals or even more, or score 3 goals, take it to penalties or extra time and win whatever, do you think they mark it as probably the best comeback in the history of Madrid's comebacks? Given that you've said this is probably the one time they finish a first leg, and you don't think there's the mood there that feels any iota of threat or confidence that this is a team
Yeah,
that
this will
has
this
the
will
character
probably
to
be
beat it?
very surprising. Like this will top a lot of them. This will top a lot of them.
I have a final follow up for you. If you are a team in the semi final and you see Madrid go through this and are the same team lining up in that semi final, when you are passing by them and shaking their hand to go and line up to start that semi final leg, what iota of confidence would you be having? What
But,
would be the experience you all
that's
be the psychology?
so, like, over here we like to talk sports in a very different way.
Yeah,
That's what people don't understand about football. Like,
yeah,
psychology plays a huge role in there.
yeah.
So, and that's what they have used. Like,
A lot of
people
the
say it's
times
juju, but we all know
you
it's not.
can't write them off.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we all know it's not juju. We say it's voodoo because it is hard to explain. But the thing is
yeah,
that we are all human beings, and then no matter who we are, there are parts of our personality and our emotions which are susceptible to
yeah,
the effects of certain events.
yeah,
So the event of seeing this team pull themselves up in the dire minutes would have you on edge, would
yeah,
definitely have an effect on you. And if you don't have a team that is united enough and aware and conscious in terms of building that mentality to resist this, then you can't beat them, and that's why they consistently win against teams. So
yeah,
you saw that they beat City. Like, I think
yeah,
he was leading by 2 goals at the
yeah,
Bernabeu. They came back, beat City to win. The
yeah,
next season or so, they met City, and City killed
yeah,
them 4-0 in the first leg.
yeah,
Second leg, it was like 1-1 or something
yeah.
of that sort. I don't remember the chain of events, but you realize that in that leg at the Etihad,
City made sure that they
City made
didn't.
sure that we,
Yeah,
we are beating you so that you don't come back. So
yeah,
even after they scored the first goal, they were on to them
yeah,
again multiple times. And I think that's what you need to do. That's what you need to do, to be honest, to beat
yeah.
the Madrid team. Make sure that
That's why I have a feeling that, for instance, Courtois helping them to keep it at 3 is not worse to like the City 4, right? Because the thing about 3 goals is if they start this first half at the Bernabeu and Madrid scores the first goal, everybody turns around and looks because now it's 2 more goals. This is a team that scores 2 goals in 2 minutes. So once they score the very first goal, everybody is uneasy and unsafe in that stadium. And that's why a 3 goal margin going into this leg, maybe not the caliber of the team, but the reputation and the history at the Bernabeu sort of backs them to play those mind games on players. Then you would see the opposition starting to become jittery and a lot more incensed, a little bit more trying to be reactive. And so it's true. For me, I think that like if Madrid walks out of this quarterfinal, every team that's meeting them in the semi-final just gives up because you are like, bro, these guys were buried and they resurrected. Just give the Champions League to them and walk away. At this
but
point, I think the only team that will take them on fair and square and not give a damn about all their history is Barca. But
yeah.
Hansi Flick's Barca is the ones who don't care about Madrid and all their fiasco in the Champions League at this point. But even them, I think that except which is the final, that's the place that if they would ever meet them, they would meet. But if there was a two-way tie, I'm sure even them, if they were the ones meeting in the semi-final, this sort of comeback would instill some sense of shock or at least play with their minds a little bit. Anyway, I wanted to ask you a much more tactically confusing question about what Arteta should do because you notice that he was a lot more front foot at home because Madrid came to not lose. And I think that's the mistake Madrid made. They came to not lose so that when they go home, they would have the advantage. But Arsenal too were like, yeah, they would come here to not lose. So we too would overcommit and penalize them in that instance. What Arteta now has to go to the Bernabeu to go and do is ordinarily everybody will be expecting him to respect um, like the opposition, play deep, defend. He doesn't have to overcommit. But Madrid also penalizes teams that sit deep, especially when you give them a lot of the ball. Like if you look at it, the reason why Arsenal dominated them at the Emirates was because they didn't allow them to keep the ball. They were pestering them left, right, center. But if Arsenal starts to defend deep, Madrid has more of the ball. I think that gives them statistically a higher chance because these are very creative players. One shot from Valverde outside the box, some Mbappe wildly dribble to twist someone's ankle, whatever, and then all of a sudden they've come back 2 goals. If you want to attack as well, you are then exposing yourself because now they have nothing to lose. So because you scoring them 3, if you come and score them 2 more at the Bernabeu, it doesn't change anything. But if they throw the numbers forward and they score 1, it changes a lot. So now if you attack, they have a lot more impetus to respond and not care what you do behind them. So if you were Arteta going into this game, regardless of the tactical approach you choose, there is a benefit strategically that Real Madrid gets. How do you respond to this?
So don't go and defend. That's all. Yeah, I thought that because that's fairly obvious. You don't like even regardless of if it's the Bernabeu,
But
whatever.
but that's the thing. When teams have gone there not to defend, they get punished by Madrid.
So what you're saying is that they will get punished anyway. So why should they go and defend?
Said, what I'm saying is they will get punished anyway. But yeah, it's true. They will get punished anyway. So okay, it makes sense. So what you are saying is that if they are likely to get punished regardless, then it's better they take the risk of also punishing them in return,
Yeah,
so that
because
at least if Madrid is scoring, they are also scoring.
I think Arsenal also has an incentive to score, and they have more impetus to take risk because they have a cushion. So it's not, uh, of
But
course, in the first.
don't you think that in a Teta's mind, he will also be thinking that is the kind of psychology that Ancelotti will be counting on?
But
That you would come there thinking
there's a
that you
point
have a
at which
cushion.
this needs to end, right? Like you can't, in the coaches' minds, they can't just be
So,
second
so
guessing.
if they score you what 1, then you stop.
No,
You
no, I'm
stop.
saying that in your preparation to the game, like
Mhm.
if you want to pick a strategy, say we are even
Yeah,
in a debate, like I can't sit down and say I'll not run this argument because you respond this way. My awareness of your response allows me to
to
prepare the
strategize.
argument well
But
enough
that's
to
the
withstand
same
that.
thing here. That the awareness of Ancelotti's awareness of Arteta's likely approach is also going to help him understand. Because the thing is, Madrid now, the most dangerous version of a team, any football team, is a team that has nothing to lose. That's why sometimes in the EPL, the teams that are in relegation, they won't score you, but they won't allow you to score because they have nothing to lose. They will
You
just be
you
there
are
sitting 11
what
players
the
behind.
mistake you are making is that you are thinking that it's what you think about the game is what
What
would
happens?
determine the outcome. The game is what
No,
would
no, no. But
no,
obviously,
no.
it's also what will determine the team's approach to the
Yes,
game.
yes. But what I'm saying is that there's an extent to which you can continue questioning the approach. You need to pick
Well,
something
that's fair. So
and
you are saying Ateta should pick front foot. Why are you quiet?
no, because I've already answered the question.
Okay. Well, that's quite interesting because I don't know. For me, that's the reason why I want to watch that match because I want to see how Arteta sets up and instructs his team. Right? Are they going to play on the front foot, sit deep, or play a mid block? Because I don't know, maybe a mid block would be the best approach to say we attack when we have to and we sit deep when we have to and suffer. But yeah, let's see how that goes. Um, the annoying thing about mid blocks is that you can be easily caught on the counter. It's fine if they catch you on the counter and you are threatening high up their pitch. If they catch you on the counter and you are like lukewarm, you are not threatening, like you are sitting in deep. That's nonsense because you didn't risk anything. You didn't risk it for any proper outcome or any proper threat, and they are penalizing you for it. So let's put that aside and let's do a quick touch on Luis Enrique and his PSG squad. Desiree Doué, Kvaratskhelia, Dembele, Vitinha, Hakimi. What squad is Luis Enrique building? And do you think he's one of the favorites for the Champions League now?
Yeah, I definitely think PSG is one of the favorites for the title.
Do you
I
know the
think
match I'm looking forward to? What are they
PSG
likely to PSG Barca?
in the final.
PSG Barca is the team I want to see.
You mean the match?
Yeah, it's the match I want to see. Like, and if Arsenal progresses, I want to see PSG Arsenal first because I
Yeah,
want to
PSG
see
has played
how.
Arsenal earlier this season.
Yeah, I think they did. And when they did, Arsenal beat them, obviously. But
Yeah.
I don't think it's the kind of beast machine that Luis Enrique is running now that he was running earlier.
Oh yeah,
So
definitely. I think
obviously,
it's a different
it's a
team.
whole new test. But how do you assess the PSG Aston Villa match, and what are your expectations of PSG moving forward?
It was just with a PSG Aston Villa. It was just a matter of time. Like it just felt like Aston Villa was waiting to be slaughtered, and it's very difficult to say this because you can see that Aston Villa really tried. You can see
Yeah,
that Unai Emery had an idea, a very good idea of how to break down PSG or what their weaknesses.
yeah,
And for me, that's what that match taught me. It taught me that there's a way to play PSG, but you need to be bold, you need to be brave, and you need to be fast.
yeah,
You need to be
yeah,
very, very, very fast. So that's why I'm also looking forward to the PSG Barca match because that's also the kryptonite that
yeah,
um, Barcelona possesses. But regardless, I think that if the match had stayed at 2-1, then you might have a very,
yeah,
very different game in Birmingham.
yeah.
Because this Aston Villa team are home pushed by their crowd, even though the PSG team doesn't look like they get faced by the crowd, looking at what they did.
Don't care.
This
Yeah,
this Aston Villa team can defend when they want to defend. And with their smaller
yeah,
pitch, they have a major advantage in then using speed to be able to break the ranks of PSG to hurt them a bit. But I think at
yeah.
this point, the tie is gone, in my opinion.
Like I sometimes just have a feeling that Luis Enrique just feels like he was disrespected at the start of the season. That he's cooking some wild thing that at this end of the season he just wants to mafia anyone he gets. Because if you look at the talent that they have, the threat is all over the pitch. You can't silence one person and think that you are safe. Like Desiree Doué, Dembele, Kvaratskhelia, every side of that front three is deadly, and they are quick, they are fast, they are hardworking, and they are very, very positive. Something that Madrid wish they had. Very, very positive in pushing forward. Because if you look at the number of chances that they created and the attempts that they made, if they were supposed to be a very high scoring team, this match could have easily ended up a 5-1, 6-1 game.
Yeah,
Right. So this is a team that for me I'm really excited to see. And to be very honest, the way they played, very, very similar to how Arsenal were bold enough against Real Madrid at the Emirates. Very, very quick, very fast, using their wingers and being a lot more positive. And that's why, for instance, I'll be very excited to see an Arsenal PSG semi-final because I'm looking at how would Arteta play against a very active midfield that doesn't captain is not captained by Modric, who Partey can run circles around. But I mean, that would be an exciting game to watch regardless. But I'm also like looking at the storyline if Madrid makes a comeback and goes to face PSG. Would this be the point where Luis Enrique starts feeling like now these are teams that you cannot beat once and think you are done. Like you need to double down. How do they play, right? So I think the Champions League format is turning out way better than anyone thought.
yeah,
It's
I
given
agree.
a very, very fantastic season, and it would be one of the best like seasons to remember. So Barcelona are cooking on their side. Hansi Flick, I think for anybody who doubted Hansi Flick before he took this job, everybody will shut up. Even if he goes on to perform the worst for the rest of the seasons at Barca, what he's doing with this current Barca team, bro, like he's insane. Anyway, thanks everyone for joining this Champions League review. I mean, a lot of it has been dominated by the terrible performance of Real Madrid at Arsenal, but also if there's anyone who writes the most beautiful football storylines in the Champions League, it's usually Real Madrid, and it's usually from such a terrible spot like they are in now. So let's see what happens at the Bernabeu. Next week will be a really exciting week to look forward to. And definitely, we will be here because regardless of the outcomes, the Champions League is set to be fun. Thanks and see you on the next episode.